Hi, I'm Kimberly Babin Marshall, curator for MCAC, McLean County Art Center. Currently on view in our newly renovated Brandt Gallery, we have an exhibition entitled Director's Choice, and these are hand-selected artworks from our director, Douglas C. Johnson, who's also a fine artist. And that background comes in quite handy when trying to put together a show like this. Because the artistic vision and understanding is what ties in all of this together to create this caliber of an exhibition.
I'm Doug Johnson, and this exhibition in the Brandt Gallery showcases both our remodeled space, but also some items from our permanent collection that I selected. There's a whole lot of artwork that I'm very proud that the Art Center has, and so it was difficult decision making these selections. So I'm going to talk briefly about just a handful of them, and hopefully you'll be interested enough that you can do some exploration on your own. So the first piece I'll talk about is a painting by Elizabeth Stein. Those folks that went to Bloomington High School in the 50s and 60s were very familiar with Miss Stein. She was the high school teacher for the art program, but she had an interesting backstory. She apparently never cashed a single check that she received from the school district. She had independent funds. Actually, she was well financed to the point that she was not reliant upon any income, and in fact used her resources in order to fund the education of quite a few students, not least of which was Elizabeth Murray, Bloomington High School, class of 1956, who she funded to go to the Art Institute. And Elizabeth Murray ended up having a national reputation. I've seen her work in the National Gallery of Art, and just had an amazing career before she died from cancer. Actually, I met Elizabeth Murray at the memorial service at the ISU Galleries for Elizabeth Stein. Although she was dying of cancer, Elizabeth Murray came back to pay her respects to Miss Stein. So it's an interesting painting by Elizabeth Stein, certainly of its era, but she had a monumental impact for all of her students and for the larger community. In fact, I went to college with a scholarship in part from Elizabeth Stein, and something that's important to me still. There is an intaglio print by Chao Wen Chen, and Chao Wen was a contemporary of mine, actually a little ahead of me in school at ISU. I knew him in the printmaking program where he studied with Ray George, and the group of us would often do things together. Actually, I remember going to Chicago to visit the River North Gallery District with Chao Wen and I think Joe Sim and Todd DeVries and Dan Addington. And we were at a pub in River North when we were watching TV during our lunch, and they first broadcast the crackdown in Tiananmen Square. And Chao Wen, who was a Chinese national, noted that he felt he could never go back to China after that. He's an amazing artist. He teaches at Alfred University, does much more conceptual work now than he did then. But during his time here, he was an amazing student, an amazing artist. I know for quite a while he also worked as a studio assistant for Harold Greger. So he just has always done terrific work, and so it's wonderful that we have a piece of his in our collection. There is a Ray George print too, and it's a print that probably has some acrylic paint applied to the surface. Ray George was probably the last faculty member at Illinois State University who actively smoked cigarettes in the classroom. And he was on my graduate committee, and a terrific artist. He always kept his haircut from when he was in the Navy. I believe he was from Nebraska. There's a big Nebraska contingent at ISU and actually in town as well. But that's a terrific print, and I can't look at that without thinking of all the various prints and paintings that he had done during his time here, and actually invented some processes. He invented a collagraph process where a mesh fiber, actually nylon hose, were stretched over cardboard with a gel medium to build up surface. He was always inventive and always supportive, and again, I think he's an important artist, a valuable artist to continue to share to the community, just because of the great work he had, but also the great impact he had on a lot of other artists. Todd DeVries. So we have a Todd DeVries. Actually, we have 3 or 4 paintings or prints by Todd DeVries. Todd was also a contemporary of mine, ahead of me in school. He was originally from the Peoria area. He went on, I believe he got his MFA from Ohio State University. For a while he was teaching in the United Arab Emirates. He came back and was working as a department chair or dean of a college, when unfortunately he succumbed to a heart attack, maybe 10 years ago. Neva, who was another one of our group, called me to let me know that he had passed, leaving his wife and a young son. So a terrific artist and a good friend, and so it's nice that we have work of his in the collection as well. The Kevin Strandberg sculpture of the big tornadoes and the illuminated house is actually from an exhibition we had here probably maybe 14 years ago. At the time, there was a board member who had suggested that we'd get more people in the galleries if we did something with The Wizard of Oz. L. Frank Baum, who wrote the Wizard of Oz series, was a Chicagoan, but his niece, who is buried at a cemetery here in town, where they have the cemetery walk, was Dorothy. And so he honored his niece by naming Dorothy Gale character after her. Anyway, so we decided that we'd have a show related to The Wizard of Oz called Dorothy's Red Shoes. And a lot of artists, we probably had 70 artists in that exhibition, who all did work that was somehow thematically tied to either the Wizard of Oz books or the film. And Kevin really went above and beyond and created this beautiful sculpture, which he eventually gave to the Art Center, and which we've proudly had in our collection for many, many years. And so it's a delight to show it again, especially in light of the fact that we'll be having a Kevin Strandberg show coming up in February here at the Art Center. The Lucille Bike painting was a recent acquisition from her estate. Lucille Bike was a lifelong painter. She passed away just within the last year in her 90s, but had played a significant role with the Art Center for a long, long time. She had served on our board for many years and was actually board president at one time. But even as an elderly woman, she would attend every exhibition. She would come in and look at all of our shows, and we would have great conversations, and she always had keen insight into what artists were doing, and she was very interested in that. But what I hadn't known for all that time that we talked is that she was an active painter. So it was lovely to receive several paintings that she had created for a permanent collection, so we can honor her legacy and the enduring value of people that are seriously invested in the painting process and lifelong learning.
When you walk into the exhibition, you're instantly greeted by this incredible sculpture. It's small and unassuming, but it's quite impactful. It's entitled Child with Cat, and it is a 1927 work by Lithuanian-born artist William Zorek. And this work is just fascinating to me. It is one of an addition of at least 8 known different variants, and they exist from pink Tennessee marble to plaster with brown patina. Ours that we have in house is bronze, but there's also different variations of that where it's polished bronze or polished bronze on a black stone base. So all of them are the same work essentially, but he was experimenting in a lot of different mediums. The one thing that does stay consistent in this work is his subject of his daughter, and her name was DeLove, and this is his daughter and one of the family felines. And what's really interesting here to me is that this particular artist was really a romantic at heart, and you can see that expressed in this work so well. There's a couple dynamics at play. It's something where you can see the love that the daughter has for this cat, but you're also seeing the love that he has for his daughter. And William, as an artist, as a person, thought that love was basically the fuel for not only his artwork, but the fuel behind everything in life. So you see a lot of this in his work, and this one she's embracing the family pet, but in many of his other works it's two people, lovers embracing, or two children embracing, but you see this consistently throughout his work. I love this quote by William. He describes his work saying, "There is much of pain and exhalation in creative work, a resistless, relentless power that makes one ever create. It is a sort of inner vision. It is seen with a timeless spirit. It is a love that is felt so intensely that the artist has to record it, to give it back to humanity. For love is not only getting, but giving." And I just love that quote from William. I think it shows so much of his inner workings as an artist and his motivation and drive. William actually has such an exciting story as an artist. He originally was pursuing traditional school, and in 7th grade his teacher recognized his artistic ability and suggested that he go to art school immediately and act as an apprentice, which he did, and that's where he started studying printmaking, lithography, and excelled in that really. The turning point in his artistic life where he decided to abandon painting and printmaking, lithography, was when he was carving a wood block, and he realized he was fascinated with the actual act of carving that block and that 3D tangible object more so than the 2D print that would have subsequently been made. I think it was an excellent choice for him. He has a huge body of work. He started seeing that success around 1925, so about 2 years before the particular sculpture we have in house was produced. And at the time in 1925, he had met with success for his sculpture entitled, I believe, Two Children, and it was a mahogany sculpture. But that is what gave him confidence to say, I think I'm going to pursue sculpture full time. And so wonderful pieces like the one we have in house were created from that decision. The piece and the artist both have such fascinating stories. The piece is unique because it's one of a series of at least 8 that exist in the world. Although those are in existence, I believe that this is the only one currently on display in the world right now. The Smithsonian does have one. It is not currently on view. And that one is cast and painted plaster. New York's Museum of Modern Art has one that William carved from pink Tennessee marble, and the one we have in house is bronze, but there's also variations out there where you're seeing polished bronze, on a stone base. So he experimented with a lot of different mediums for this same sculpture. you.